because I'm the rarity of like an Englishman who really like loves American football and like a lot of other sports.
Oh, really?
And so I think somebody found out about that, and so they asked me to go out. And Scott, my publicist, was saying that like normally actors are just like, oh, I don't want to go to Bristol, Connecticut, but I was just like, yes, absolutely, that sounds so cool, because I don't watch all the entertainment shows that I have to go on, but I do watch like His and Hers, and like all those shows. So it was like and Highly Questionable, so I got to go on them.
So you knew all of them, and you knew their shows.
And I was able to genuinely go in and be like, hey, I really like you guys. So yeah.
That is a rare thing where there is so many shows that I imagine most of the time you go in and you're like, all right, what are their names?
Well, it's weird though, actually, because I'm in kind of an oddly lovely position of like having been interviewed by a lot of these people since I was 10 or 11.
So they all know you. Look, you're growing up.
Yeah, like I go back to Kelly and Michael, and Kelly Ripa's like, I've known him since he was 11, and she's genuinely like incredibly sweet. So some places there's like it's no like I was thinking about this the other day, actually, like if you told 15, 16-year-old me that like one day you'll be able to go on these shows and not just be shitting yourself beforehand and not just be terrified, and you'll actually be able to like go on and be kind of relaxed,
right?
That would have blown my mind.
Really?
Yeah.
Because now you're an established guy, and you're sort of kind of easing out. It must be a relief at some point. I think I would be more nervous to kind of wonder how long will it be before they stop going, Harry Potter is here.
I think I sort of did myself a favor by letting go of that worry a long time ago, and just kind of accepting like that's always going to be there. Like it's going to be when I die, that'll be the first line of my obituary. Like that's
Harry Potter slash
maybe did some other stuff.
They wouldn't even put your name on your obituary. Harry Potter,
also, AKA Daniel Radcliffe. I mean, I what did I have? I had somebody. What did they say to me? Because I do sometimes get people saying, like, can you, like, when I sign, very occasionally now I'll get someone saying, like, when I sign something from them, they say, can you write Harry Potter? And I'm like, no, because that's not my name.
Oh, really?
No, I don't sign Harry.
Are they upset about it?
Generally they're okay. And it's so rare that happens.
Are they kids? Or they?
No, I'm not doing that to kids. Like, if it's a kid, I do my name then, like, in brackets, alright? Because, like, I don't expect them to, they've just started recognizing words.
Because then you just be a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Then you just be being a horrible person to a child.
They'll grow up knowing, like, no, I didn't like that Harry Potter.
Exactly. I think when you have, like, that, when you have that awareness of how much they're going to remember those interactions, like, that's
well, I imagine that some of those fans that were your age when you did that are now like your age now.
Yeah.
So it must be sort of bizarre. I mean, how do they make the transition when they come up to you? Are they supportive? Like when you did Equus, did you have Harry?
They were really like, that was what was amazing about that, was people were, I guess the people that disapproved of it just didn't come see it, and I didn't encounter any of them.
The people that could not look at you in any other way.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and I kind of, like I used to when I went on the View a while ago, and that's another show that I've been going on.
It's a lot of ladies yelling at you.
Yeah, and Barbara Walters was there, and she said, and I was 23, 24.
How old are you now?
I'm 26.
Yeah.
I was doing an interview about Kill Your Darlings where I played Allen Ginsberg, and there was
I saw that
gay sex scene. And
I saw that Sundance.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And she said, and she was like, hey, we don't want to see you that way, you're a kid. And I was like, well, I'm not actually anymore. Like, it's fine if you don't want me to see me that way, but don't tell everyone else that they don't want to.
Yeah, the kid, Harry Potter's taking it.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's not like, it wasn't.
Well, you were the age of Ginsberg at that time, I imagine, maybe even a little older.
And I was lucky to be able to, I was very lucky that people gave me opportunities directly after Potter finished to play more grown-up stuff and do, because I could have been getting teen offer type stuff.
Right. You could have been doomed to what happens to child actors.
Well, the perception of what happens to child actors.
Well, let's go through it. Let's go through it, and let's lead up to that, and I'll write that down to make sure I get you back to it. Mm-hmm. But when you got the role of Harry Potter, I mean, you were it was
10, 11.
Right, but I imagine it was completely under your parents' sort of guidance and control and
Yeah, well, initially they didn't want me to audition for it.
Well, but are they in show business? They are.
They were, yeah. They were both actors when they were younger, and then
Like how young? Like
I guess they probably stopped when they were in their late 20s before they had me.
so they'd given it a go.
Yeah, and come out the other side.
Was there bitterness there?
There was not bitterness because they both really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun and had found other places in the industry that I think they honestly enjoyed more. Like my mum became a casting director. I have to point out at this point she never cast me in absolutely anything.
Do you have to say that's your personal clause?
Yeah,
I'd like to add
I have to say that because as soon as there was also a moment on the first Potter film where one of the producers coincidentally his surname is also Radcliffe.
Right.
And so all the people when I came in for the audition, because I was auditioning I auditioned quite late for Potter in terms of how long the process had been, and so I think they were like, oh wow, now we're really scraping the barrel. We got producers' kids coming in, and it was so. My dad became a literary agent, so my dad was an agent for writers and directors.
Like any writers we'd know?
Who he used to represent Joe Wright. He used to represent Hetty MacDonald, Jonathan Harvey, lots of British playwrights, Joe Penhall.
So you grew up in this world?
Yeah, I grew up surrounded by I grew up with a knowledge of it, but I went on set once with my mum to a set visit with her for one of her projects.
When you were earlier than 10?
Yeah, when I was maybe 7 or 8.
And were you taken with it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a photo of me at home with the clapperboard on, so I clearly had a nice
let
day.
the kid clap this scene out.
Yeah, exactly. And there was it was a film with a lot of kind of teenagers in it.
Yeah.
So and they were took me under their wing for the day. And I was playing football with them and stuff. So it was a lot of fun.
And where'd your parents come from? They're both British?
My dad's Northern Irish, and my mum's English from Essex.
And your mom's Jewish?
My mom is Jewish. Yeah, we're not practicing at all. We're Christmas tree Jews. We're not religious.
But did you have a Jewish grandmother?
I do have a Jewish grandmother. I still have a Jewish grandmother.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. She's wonderful. Oh, cool. I've just seen your presidential stuff.
The president sat where you're sitting.
That's
in that chair.
Cool.
You
awesome.
like that?
Yeah.
But you weren't brought up with any religion in the house?
No, not really.
And Northern Ireland, so did you spend time up there?
I did, yeah. My dad's sister and her husband. And
where? What part?
Banbridge, just in County Down, just outside Belfast.
It's beautiful, right?
It is, yeah. It's
Ireland to me is stunning.
No, it is. I mean, actually, Banbridge is lovely, and obviously I don't want to
cause any trouble.
Talk about another place, but the west coast of Ireland as well. I spent time there as well, and it is stunning, and it's one of those coastlines that I think people don't, because you think of Ireland, you think rain, and there is a lot of rain, but there's also it's kind of just epic and
it's really it's green and beautiful. I didn't I have nothing invested genetically in Ireland, but I went there and I'm I think I'm home. I don't know what the fuck it was.
No, I have to say there is something incredibly just
comforting,
peaceful and meditative, and it feels life just sort of ticks over there in a rather lovely and calm way.
Yeah. And the people are great.
But then I think having grown up in city, I don't know, did you grow up in a city or were you
Not really. I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You grew up in London?
Yeah. So I think I'd find it hard to be totally divorced.
Well, wait till you're on the other side of it. I'm starting to lean more towards the idea that maybe I could be comfortable isolated somewhere in a pretty place. Maybe it's not your agenda right now.
That's the thing. Sometimes I have those moments. I definitely sometimes oh yeah, I could. I'm very good at being alone, and I'm happy. But yeah, I think I feel cut off.
But I'd have to assume, fortunately, I don't know if you've shaved your head for a role.
I have, yes. Okay. I've not just become very, very right wing. But the film it's about an FBI agent who goes undercover with a bunch of white supremacists.
Is that where's that being shot?
It was shot actually very close to where those white supremacists were literally arrested yesterday.
In the Midwest?
In Virginia, just outside Richmond.
Really?
Yeah.
And who's shooting that movie?
It was a guy called Daniel Ragussis. It was his first feature film, and he wrote the script as well. And he's the nicest man. He's just it was one of the. I've been really lucky this year to have just amazing experiences with directors, just great people.
Did you speak with an American accent?
I did in that, yes. In fact, I spoke with an American accent in that the whole time from morning till night. Nobody working on that film heard me in an English accent.
And it was a Southern.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
Wasn't. I actually was learning a Southern American accent for something else, and I really enjoy it, man. It's weirdly, it's closer to an English accent than a lot of other American accents.
True.
Because the R's are less pronounced.
But what'd you do? Have to get tapes of people going, "How are you?"
Yeah, what do? I listened to the guy. In theory, it was going to be for somebody I would be playing, so I listened to a lot of the guy himself, and then I listened to, and then I got like a coach, and then you just go through the script, and then they go through it with. There's various ways of doing it. I've got some friends who literally go through it with the International Phonetic Alphabet and how they've learned that, and then they get that written out for them. That's how they learn it. That I just have to listen.
It's like math.
Yeah, that's why I can't do that. So I just have to listen.
But that's interesting because as an American, you'd think like if I had to speak with a Russian accent in a film, you'd have tapes for that. But I didn't really think that there would be coaches and tapes for speaking Southern dialect.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course there are. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that I find hilarious about America is that America and Americans have a thing about the Southern accent as sounding sort of dumb and like silly, whereas like the rest of the world, as you know, thinks they sound fucking cool.
Yeah, right.
Like we're all just like they sound like cowboys, they sound tough, they sound awesome. Like that is a great accent.
I don't know what the comparison would be. I think that like I think they do get stereotyped, but I stopped doing that. Yeah,
I mean, because you can't like.
You spend time down there and you're like, holy
like
shit, it's beautiful.
There's so many like awesome people.
Exactly.
And I went.
Exactly.
Like, everyone I tell I filmed this movie in Virginia, everyone's like, oh, Virginia, and I'm like, no, guys, like it's lovely. The people are great.
They
like,
are.
Richmond's super. Like, it's not like.
But speaking about like reprieve or the idea of being somewhere calm and peaceful, I mean, I can't imagine that that your life is easy.
You know, that everyone sort of has that impression, but like I think I've managed to like simplify my life a lot. Like I know what I like doing. I like hanging out with my friends.
And also you're fortunate that you're growing up. Yeah. And that like you do look a little different and you can probably get by. Have you ever said this when someone goes like, "Are you Harry Potter?" and go, "No, I'm not."
I don't do that, but I do. But I will. But if you just come up and say, "Are you Elijah Wood?" I will say no, and I won't tell you who I am.
My girlfriend confused you too.
Really? It's happening so, and it's happening even more with a shaved head. I don't know why.
She said, "Does he DJ?" I'm like, "I don't think he does," because Elijah's really into records.
Yeah.
Are you guys friends?
No, we've met once, and we've communicated through other people a couple of times.
It's because of the Hobbit, though. It's not because you look alike.
It's because we look alike. It's because the idea of us is the same. Like we're both kind of short guys with big blue eyes and brown hair.
And you did fantasy movies of a specific type.
That came out almost the same time. Like originally, when Harry Potter was first coming out, like the first, you sort of forget now that originally those first movies were coming out kind of alongside each other, and they were like billed as like the fantasy movies, like versus Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, like that.
You guys have to do something together, like a road movie.
I would love to do like I'm thinking of trying to like write something where like with some sort of mistaken identity thing, or where one of us kills the other one, and takes over their life or something. There's got to be some.
You could do a short one for like Funny or Die or something.
Like even somebody who was producing a film that he was working on came up to me and was like, "Hey, Elijah," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." And he was like, "We're working on this movie," and I'm like, "No, you should. If you're working with Elijah Wood, you should know I'm not him.
Know what he looks like."
This is, yeah.
So you hang out with your girlfriend, but you don't.
Friends, I don't. I mean, I work, and I'm really like lucky in that that's the thing I got lucky in is that I loved like being on set, and so that's what I love doing.
So that could be 6 months a year to a year, full
like
year.
This year I've done 2.5 movies, and because one was the back end of last year as well, and a TV film, so that's probably accounted for like 5-6 months. And
right.
And that's like great. And the rest of the time I've been like either working on trying to get other stuff going, or just chilling out, or promoting stuff, or like. But it's I know the routine of this world very well now, because I've done it for a long time, and I'm very like comfortable in it, and I sort of don't know what my life is without it, which is a problem in and of itself, possibly to down the line. But like I'm lucky that I took to it like I did, not in terms of like being a great actor necessarily straight away, because I definitely don't think I was that, but just in terms of loving it straight away.
Well, so you get the role now. At the beginning, you'd done what, 2 other roles before you took Potter?
Basically,
just little ones.
A TV movie for the BBC and a small part in a film.
And your parents were into it. They're like, "Oh, this seems to be working out for them." So now they get this huge offer where they immediately like, "Yeah, great, go."
No, what it was actually was that because originally the offer was to sign on for all the movies, or at least I think 6 movies.
They knew they were going to do 6 at least.
Yeah, and then and it was to sign on for all of them. or maybe they didn't know they were going to do them, but they certainly wanted to make sure they had me if they needed me.
You needed some consistency with the main character.
Right. So they wanted to sign on for 6 films, and they were all going to be done over here in LA. And my mum and dad, I didn't even hear about it at this stage. I never heard that this was.
And you didn't even hear it was offered to you?
No. My mum and dad were just like, no, that's a crazy disruption to his life. We don't want that for him, or want him to, and frankly, like, want me to know that was a thing that was going on. Like,
right.
And I think that was definitely right. And anyway, then time passed, and the offer then changed to signing on for 2 films, and they were both going to be done in London.
Right.
At which point, my mum and dad were like. And then we had this sort of moment, like, I don't believe in fate, but my mum and dad do. And
no religion, but fate.
Yeah. I mean, I think my mum and dad believe in God.
Yeah.
And definitely fate. Because then they started, like, we went to the theatre one night, and the producer of Potter happened to be there, in the row in front, and I was just having this really weird moment of being like, why isn't he watching the play? Why is this dude in the row in front keep turning around and looking at me? Because I still had no knowledge that an offer had been made or anything like that. Or an offer to audition, sorry, it wasn't an offer. And then I remember my mum and dad, like, rushed me upstairs at the interval, and I was sort of standing there looking like, what's going on? And my mum and dad being like, do we leave? Do we go back down? Like, he's going to want to come over and talk? Like, what?
And they were negotiating still, so that you couldn't talk to him.
No, they weren't. My mum and dad were just thinking, like, if he talks to him, then we're gonna, it's going to be about Potter, and then, you know, and we don't know what the situation is. And so then we went back, and they didn't, I guess, still know how they felt about it. And then,
so their concern was he would come up to you and go like, "Are you going to do it?"
Yeah, I don't know, or maybe that he would talk about it, and then I would feel that they've been keeping it from me, or something. I don't honestly know, but they, but I do think, like, they were aware of what a potentially big deal this was, and they were kind of freaking out about, like, is this the right thing to do?
Right.
Because I remember I turned around to my mum when I was like 6 years old after seeing, like, a pantomime production of Aladdin, and gone like, I think I want to be an actor. And my mum was like, no, you don't, trust me. It's like, it's not all fun and games like that.
Your father and I,
kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah. And heartbreaking business.
Yeah. And so, but then after we went back in and saw the rest of the play, and we did indeed speak to David, and it was absolutely fine. There was nothing mentioned about it. And then when we went home, my mum and dad, I think they were like, maybe this is the universe.
It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be. So they let me audition, and then I think I only had like 4 or 5 auditions compared to Rupert and Emma, who had like 10 or 11 each.
Really?
Yeah.
So they were pretty sure that this was going to be a monster. Like on some level. Had you read the books?
I'd read the first 2. But
Did you like them?
Yeah, but I was also not a reader.
Right.
Like, I found reading really like a trial at that point in my life. I love it now, but like at that point it hadn't clicked yet at all. It just felt like a chore. And also I was always, I suppose, slightly like contrary in the way that, like, if everyone's really into something,
why would
I have to be like, okay, well, I'll wait and see if I like it later.
You still like
after
that?
You guys are unfashionable. No, I'm much better about that now. Like, I'm not like I used to be. I remember, like, I was thinking about this the other day, like, what a dick I was to some, like, ex-girlfriends about their taste in music, like, what a pretentious arsehole I was about. So it's just
it's a deal breaker sometimes.
God, yeah, when you're a teenager, you're like, it's so important. Like, oh my God, how painful.
Or sometimes I'll just be like, no, I don't like it because everyone else likes it, and then like 10 years later, I'm like, well, that's pretty good.
That's a pretty good song. Yeah, exactly. I remember I was doing an interview recently with NME in England, and so I went back and read an interview I'd done with them when I was 14. I didn't read very much of it because it was all, and there was one bit in it where they were like, what bands don't you like? And I was like, oh, the White Stripes, man, they're really repetitive. And I was really like, what are you talking about, you idiot? The White Stripes are great.
No, I think impulsive, maybe instinctively you might be right, but maybe you didn't quite get it, because there is a repetitive, like, if you listen to a few White Stripes albums, you're like, well, they're sort of doing the same thing, but
they are. But now, like, I have such an affection for that music because it was the music of my teenage years. Like, I you know, you sort of you rarely love any music as much as you love the music, I think, when you're a teen.
I think that's true. Yeah. Unfortunately, when I grew up there, the music available on the mainstream level was, you really had to, find your way through it.
Right.
Or I would be listening to Foreigner records right now.
Right. Yeah. That was a tough era. Like, everything like before it and just after stuff. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was, you have to work for it a bit more.
Yeah, the good stuff that was not mainstream, I had to find my way back to, because I just didn't have access to a lot of it. And now I'm sort of like, how the fuck did I miss this? Well, wasn't. You're given what you're given through the outlets you're given.
Exactly.
You got to know a guy who's going to tell you like, oh, you don't know who they are.
Yeah. So
what was your relationship or is relationship with J.K. Rowling? I mean, are you guys?
We're not like tight. We don't like talk.
But I just
we always got on really, really well, and she was obviously incredibly kind to me and really supportive of the films. And she came and saw Equus and was really supportive of that. And yeah, she's been great. She's been great with all of us, I think, to be honest. Like, she's, she really seems to care about what happened to us, as everyone did. Like, that was what was remarkable about those films looking back.
Yeah.
Chris Columbus, all the producers, Warner's, and more than that, actually, way more than that, like, the makeup and hair people who were there for 10 years, my dresser who was the same guy for 10 years, all those people, like, it was an incredibly caring atmosphere.
It's a family.
It was. I mean, it was really...
Like, you're doing this every year for a decade. Mm-hmm. Some people passed away.
And some
actors.
Away, some people got married, some people had babies. Like, there was a girl, in fact, there was a girl called Bonnie, Amanda Knight's daughter. Amanda Knight was the head of hair and makeup, head of makeup on the films, and she did all 8 films for all 10 years. And Bonnie was born 2 weeks before I got the part.
Yeah.
And so then, like, we get to the end of the movies, and she is a 10-year-old girl, and like now I'm meeting her, and she's like 16. It's nuts.
Feeling old, are you?
It is crazy when you've got like so many physical yardsticks. But then I realize that that's what I am for a lot of other people. Like, the fact that I am 26 now really makes some people feel old when they hear that.
Sure.
Because
the people that loved Harry Potter are now starting families.
Well, that's what's amazing about Potter as well, is that if you were 14 when the first one came out, when the first film came out, and you've been like probably like 10 when the first book came out and got into it, and then you're probably maybe starting a family of your own right now, and maybe introducing those kids to it already.
The videos.
And
this is what we watch over and over again.
Yeah. And I'm thankfully still at an age where, like, I can just about be recognized as the same person. Like,
right.
There is going to come a point where their parents are going to be saying to their kids, like, this is Harry Potter, and I'm like, and they're like, no, it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's probably the point when they'll remake them.
Well, what a new kid.
Yeah.
Or a TV show, or it seems like it's just an evergreen property.
At the moment.
But it was weird because when we were talking about things not getting things, like when I saw grown people reading Harry Potter on the subway in New York. Grown-ups. I used to do a bit about it. I was like, it's for children. I was livid about how many grown adults I saw reading Harry Potter. I was mad about it. It had nothing to do with you.
No.
But I was like, what is happening to this culture? Never.
They're really good.
All right.
That's the thing. They're really.
You've read all of them?
Yeah, I have, obviously. Like, can you imagine if I hadn't?
No, I'd love it. Like, I didn't read the last one. Or I got the script. I get it.
I have, like... in my heart of hearts, I think maybe that's true of Rupert. Like, I think he maybe just read the last script. Like, he says he read it. No, I'm sure he did. That's a joke.
But
it's
no, I know people say that, but I'm so deliberate about what I read. I don't read for entertainment. If I'm going to read something, it's got to be fucking great. And people recommended it to me, but I was not going to be one of those guys on the subway. It's going to have to be some guilty pleasure that I do indoors, alone. Yeah.
Well, they make adult edition covers now. So
I can read it on Kindle too.
That's what I always like. That's what I always found that funny, that there was clearly some acknowledgement that from the publishing company who made grown-up covers for them as well, that it was like, we have to make this more palatable for people reading this on the subway. People are starting to get
they're starting. Maron's starting to talk about it on stage.
Yeah, he's doing a bit. We've got to
I wish I got that kind of attention. But so at what point did you become sort of aware of what could be sort of not a pigeonhole, but when we started talking about that, the perception of child actors and what happens to child actors.
I mean, from the word go, I remember pretty much the day after I was cast, there was an article written by a former child actor in the UK, or by him or about him, basically saying you're all doomed.
Yeah.
In fact, John Boorman, who directed the film, the little part in the film I'd had before Potter, was a film called Taylor of Panama, and I think even he came out and said something like, "Well, that's his childhood gone." So from that moment, I was some awareness of, okay, that's what people think happened to child actors, and then also,
but were you afraid of it?
No, never really, because like I was like, I knew what my life was like. Like I was on set. I was, I think, as I got older, and I know why that stuff happens.
Yeah.
But I do get it, and I get why it hasn't happened to me. Because
okay, explain.
I think anyway. Like there's no definite answers, obviously, but like I think one of the reasons it didn't happen to me because most actors. Acting's a weird life. Like, you go from job to job, and there's very little consistency with who you see, particularly if you're in America. British film industry is small. Like, if you've done one job in Britain, you'll probably know someone on your next job.
Sure.
Like, over here, I've yet to work with the same crew member twice.
Right.
Like, so it's, if you're doing that in this country, it's a lot harder. You know a lot fewer people. If your parents aren't right, then like that's gonna screw you up.
Isn't there some protections now about that? Like, because I know there's stories about some other child actors whose parents sort of pimped them out and took all the money, and
Yeah, I mean, but I'm not talking about even like financially, like ripping off the kid. I'm talking about just having parents who are either like really pushy or crazy, or like trying to live out their life through you, or
you didn't have any of that?
No. I'm incredibly lucky with my parents. Like, they were always amazingly supportive, but they said to me between every film, if you're not happy, we don't have to do the next one.
Right.
Like, it was, they approached it with caution, I think, the whole way through.
How did they respond when you started going outside and like you were swarmed by 10-year-old girls?
Well, it was weird for them, I imagine. But they also, that's the thing. I remember I went to Japan when I was 12.
Yeah.
I thought 13.
For a promotional tour, yeah.
And I arrived and there were 5,000 people waiting in the arrivals lounge.
Yeah. How many?
5,000.
Japanese kids.
Yeah, it's of all ages, 8 to 80. Just
That's
like
crazy.
Screaming, and there was like 100 security there, and they were struggling to hold them back. And me and my mum and dad were like pushing through this crowd, and it was nuts. And my mum's like toggle of her duffel coat got caught on a Japanese lady's duffel coat, and they were like trying to separate themselves, and we ended up like getting into the car. And I remember my mum and dad just like, no matter, like, maybe they were really freaked out, maybe they were weirded out by it, but they laughed, and they were laughing about it, and they were like, hey, isn't this fucking crazy? They didn't say fucking, but like, isn't this like, and just was laughing about it, and I think they always put it in that kind of perspective of like, this is mad, this is surreal, like, enjoy it for what it is, but don't trust it too much.
Was there ever a point where they were scared, or your life was in danger, or there was creepy threats? Or...
I mean, like, creepy letters, never really threats, but more people that you ended up worrying for them more than us, really.
Oh, really?
Like,
good.
Just kind of, you sort of go, but like
people genuinely asking you to use your magic powers to help them and whatnot.
Yeah, like sometimes a bit of that, but like we also, I tell you, some of the highlights of stuff I got sent. I did once get sent I once got sent like a rock by a super religious family in America.
Oh, really?
And they said that I was to like hit myself with it when I had like dirty thoughts. And I was like, that's very kind. Thanks for thinking of me and my moral side, you guys, but I think I'm all right.
Send a picture to them of you hitting yourself with the rock.
I think me and my friend just threw the rock away.
That's bizarre.
Yeah, so I got, but like,
do you think that they would have criticized you for your
my role in Equus? I'm sure that like
your allegiance to witchcraft.
Maybe. I always felt we even at like 11, we were all very like, as kids, we were like amused by the fact that like people burned calendars of us and stuff, because we saw some of that around the time the first film was coming out, and like everything, like it goes away. Like I feel like there was a moment of controversy with it, and then it's sort of, even loads of religious people like Harry Potter, like it's not, it's only very, very certain type, I think.
Yeah. And I also think, like, even when I was thinking about other child actors that, that in this country anyways, like people like Macaulay Culkin and stuff like that, is that was a different time. And I don't think that, any child actor ever has been involved in a franchise like this, and just the money of it. I mean, you could probably own an island if you'd like. Buy a small country.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
there's no part of you that's sitting there going like, I hope I don't waste all that money on
what? Right. Yeah. Like, I'd have to really fuck up. Like, I mean, it would have to be like it would be the most epic downfall. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm very lucky in that sense, and the great thing about, for the most part, that is that it sort of frees you up to not worry about it, which is obviously like a luxury that most people don't have, and particularly like to have that young and in this job, like to be able to say no, I don't want to do that because I think it's crappy, and I just want to do the films I want to do because I think they're good.
But did you have some trouble handling the success? Did did you get fucked up?
I mean, I think there was definitely a time when I was coming out of Potter into the real world.
Yeah.
And suddenly I was in a world where I was like, oh, I'm not going to have that consistency anymore. I'm not going to see all these people every year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to just like have my friends around me all the time. I'm going to have to like, and also like, who knows?
Figure out how to live a life.
Yeah, I'd had months of journalists saying to me like, so how's it going to be now that you kind of peaked at 21?
Yeah,
like,
it's
what's
over.
Your life going to be like now?
Going to be okay?
And I'd never felt worried about it, but then you can't help but like infer something when you get asked that question all the time and start going like, holy shit, like, am I going to be okay? Like, is this? And I do remember, like, I was like completely, I was pretty inconsolable on the last day of Potter. I was just really like worried, and then I was living alone, and I think I was really freaked out, and I was also at that point like
freaked out about losing that element of family in your life, or that consistency.
Freaked out about like, I love being on film sets,
yeah.
And like I still kind of live with the fear of just like one day someone's just going to turn up and be like, hey, you're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah,
just so you know, that thing you love, you can't do that.
No more lights, camera, action for you, kid.
You're just at home now, doing nothing.
Well, what were you doing? Were you getting fucked up?
I drank a lot, and as has been recorded, but that was more about like, that was more to do actually with going out in public and wanting and like a battle in me to be like, no, I can have a totally normal life, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is fine.
Hang out with people, have a few cocktails.
Yeah, and I can, and it turns out like, and that's the thing, most people probably can.
Yeah.
I definitely can't. And I haven't had a drink now for over 2 years, well over 2 years this time around. And
you don't have a tolerance for it. You get too fucked up.
Yeah,
I've been sober for 16 years. I know.
Well done.
Yeah, well, I know it. I know the feeling.
Yeah, and it's just like you get bored of waking up feeling like that.
Oh yeah.
And
how bad were you? Like, what'd I do?
Yeah, like a lot of that.
Did you have a security detail to sort of manage you?
But
I mean, you're Harry Potter. You can't be out there getting shit faced in a pub.
At first, well, no, but that's like I was. Yeah, that's what I thought.
There must have been so many people going like buying you drinks.
Yeah, exactly. Like I made friends in a pub real fast. Like but then like
you got to keep up.
I was super fun for like that first
hour.
Yeah. and then you get bored of being like the liability, and you get bored of being the one everyone has to look after, and you get bored of hearing stories about yourself.
Well, that was interesting to me, like because that was something. Go ahead.
And forgive me if I get cagey about this, by the way. I'm more than happy to talk to you about this. I may be slightly cagey in front of your mic, just because I did talk about this in an interview, and it's out there and people know about it, but anytime I give any more information about it, it's like the particularly the British press is just
they love it.
Like, yeah.
Well, the interesting thing
this is the story people want to write about me.
Right.
Is that I did get that child
that you have this struggle
up and whereas that's like I'm quite happy now.
But it's so funny that there was a generation of British actors that just wreaked havoc on pubs for years, and it was like the greatest era.
I honestly feel like there's a lot of us that feel we have to live up to that in some way. Really,
you got to be Burton and O'Toole and Shaw and
a lot of like I find it so much easier to not drink in America than I do in England.
Yeah,
like by a long, long way.
Well, it's definitely a pub culture. I mean, it's like
but even at work as well. Like it's everyone. Like I'm like people in America. Like, hey, do you want to go out for coffee?
Yeah,
like,
coffee.
Yes, I suppose I do. I suppose that's what I can do now. It's very different.
Well, what I was reacting to though, like it took me years to realize about my own drinking experience was that I was that guy too. That like within an hour or so, I'd become the liability, and there was part of my brain that wondered did I want to be that? Did I want to be taken care of or looked after or feel like I had friends?
Or like some part of you wants that chaos as well, in that sense of like not knowing. Especially, I think probably for me, like having had always a very structured life, and like 90% of the time enjoying that. There's just that like crazy part of you every so often that like wants to just rebel against that and just have some chaos.
And there's definitely that line though where when you no longer know the chaos, and it's like it seems like the guys of that generation that could drink that they were having a good time all the way through.
Screw them for that. Like, screw all of those people and their consequence-free drinking. Like, I remember, I remember people here, and I still do get very envious. Like, I get envious sometimes, like, when I hear people talk now, and I'm just like, man, how do you do that?
Yeah,
how are you okay?
I always had a line. But
I always tell myself as well, they're not really. They're struggling with something.
Oh, sure. They don't feel good in the morning. I don't care, how swashbuckling you are.
Exactly.
You still feel shitty in the morning. But let's talk about craft a little bit, because I imagine going into Potter at 10 that, that role, evolved, fairly, was only relative to aging, and it sort of was natural that the character was the character and you got older in it.
Exactly.
So there wasn't a lot of, deep work that had to be done.
No.
But did you study acting?
I did sort of latterly, really. Yeah, I mean, I got to an age where I was about 16, and before I did Equus, actually, when I was gonna like sort of.
You had to kind of prepare for that, right?
Exactly. So I knew there'd been like a spate of film actors doing West End theatre at the time, and the criticism that was levelled at them time and again was they couldn't do it technically and couldn't like project and.
Oh right, they couldn't actually be on stage.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to sort of limit the ammunition people had in that sense, and they
weren't stage actors, had no experience at it.
Exactly. And I was like, and I knew that like people were going to want to say that about me, like who's this kid coming?
Well, they must have been out to get you.
I think some were, but also there was a certain amount of okay, like you're doing Equus, like that's among certain people that makes them go like he's not a play you do if you don't want to be an actor.
And also you're the right age for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was perfectly appropriate casting.
So were you were aware that I imagine I imagine that you had to sit down with agents and your parents or whoever your advisors were to decide what you were going to do post Harry Potter, and what better way to introduce yourself?
Well, that was during Harry Potter though. That was still that was like
in the middle.
That was before the fifth film had come out.
But there must have been part of you that was looking ahead.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. But I always felt like it would be much easier to start transitioning to stuff by doing it between Potter films and then going back to Potter. So everyone was like, oh, he's doing something different, and now we get to see him in the thing we know him in, and it just transitions everyone easier, I think.
And people liked you in Equus.
Yeah, and it went down really well, thankfully.
So how'd you prepare?
I had a amazing coach who I still work with, because at that age I was like, okay, there's the people who go to drama school, what do they learn? Like, I need to learn that stuff.
That's what you said to the guy?
No, I said it to pretty much actually. Yeah, I said to Barbara Hausman is her name, and she was recommended to me through Kenneth Branagh. So I was like, that's a good, strong recommendation for theatre-based text work. So yeah, I worked with her on literally every role I've ever done since. Like for that, it was specifically like working on projection and vocal stuff. But since we've just been doing like, she's somebody that I go through scenes with and have like I trust that I can just like
Well, because I noticed even in the new movie, in the Frankenstein movie, in Victor Frankenstein, that it was interesting because the first few minutes of that film, that blurry part where you're just sort of like hobbling, and the voiceover comes. My first thing was like, is that the monster? Like,
cool,
because I thought like, are they going to humanize the monster?
Yeah, cool. Well, that is a sort of the version. One of the things we're doing in the film is like showing Victor as kind of the creator of Igor as well. Like when he meets me, I don't have a name. I'm just living this sort of
but like I could see that you had done some work around
physicality as well. Like I really liked all that stuff. Like it was something I did when I did the musical. I did a musical on Broadway a few years ago, and that was like, I was like, oh, I kind of like using my body and being physical and doing stuff, and so I've had a lot of opportunities to do stuff like that.
It's next, don't you? Elephant Man.
Bradley Cooper's just done it. It's been too recently revived. I've got to wait at least 10, 15 years.
To twist up?
Yeah,
you got to wait a bit?
Nah, yeah, I've got to wait a bit for that. I did have I did The Cripple of Inishmaan and then Frankenstein and The Cripple of Inishmaan again in New York.
What is that?
So, it's a Martin McDonagh play, about a kid who also has, in the play it's not specified sort of what he's living with, but we sort of, kind of made the leap that it could be cerebral palsy after the things that I described. So I played a character with cerebral palsy in that, and then Igor's much less specific, kind of made-up condition that I sort of just came up with.
Yeah, I like that the evolution of the Frankenstein movie in this particular manifestation is some sort of bizarre buddy film of two very attractive men. That Igor just turns out to, you stand him up straight and you clean his face up, and he's Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, yeah, I can't get it, I could, but
Igor gets the girl. That's what it should be called.
Somebody said that James's alternative title for the film is Frankie Goes to Hollywood, which I quite enjoy.
So what were some of the things that she told you? Like, because it sounds to me like you really had to learn how to put a craft in place.
Then the other person that was, I have to say, really key in learning, because really I used to refer to myself as like a sort of like a point and shoot actor. Like, you just sort of like show me where my mark is and I'll hit it, and I'll give you whatever my instincts have got. Like, I don't really have any kind of process. And then working with John Krokidas on Kill Your Darlings, who's the director of that and co-writer, he was somebody that like changed how I act.
Well, I'll tell you that story, which I knew being a beatnik freak when I was in college, the Lucian Carr story is I'd never seen it executed, and it was even in the literature, in the beat literature, it was fairly cryptic in terms of what really happened. You know, like, you knew that Lucian Carr murdered somebody, but with what's his name, the guy who played Burroughs, who I love.
Ben Foster.
Ben Foster's a fucking great actor, and I'm a huge beat guy, so it was important to me that it was done right, and I didn't even know what that was about. That it was about that.
Cool.
I just went because I was in Sundance for another reason. Yeah. And I got tickets for it, and I'm like, holy shit, it's about Lucian Carr. And what was the kid's name who played Lucian Carr?
Dane DeHaan.
Holy shit.
He's amazing. He's one of my best friends that I've made through acting. Yeah, absolutely. We're in a fantasy league together.
Really?
Yeah, he's great. We're my fantasy league that I run.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
football?
Football, yeah, American football.
American football?
Yeah.
So you're a bizarre guy with the British and American football thing.
Yeah,
it's good.
I like it.
It's going to endear you to many millions of grown men.
It's great.
Who didn't like you as Harry Potter.
I know. Now I will go on ESPN yesterday and like talk about fantasy. I've got like a lot more probably fans in that.
Did you already get some feedback for that?
Well, I don't have social media, so I don't know.
You just detached from that?
Yeah, I know. I have a Google Plus, but like for me, like it just seems like it's just there's that.
Wait, let me understand something. You don't need to self-promote at this point, Dan?
You know what, mate? I probably do. Like, everyone tells me, like, I'm constantly being told whenever I do a job, like everyone's always like, "Oh, can you get social media for us?" And I'm just like, I don't.
You'll get sucked in.
I never hear somebody talking about it who's happy about it. I never hear somebody saying, "Oh, I can't wait to check my Twitter." Like, it's always just
it's like crack.
It's this.
Yeah. Well, no, but or else they're sort of like, I gotta check it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's not like this will be fun. Yeah.
Like and somebody said to me the other day, and that's the thing. It's not like an act of social rebellion. Like, I don't give a shit if you have Twitter. I don't have strong feelings about it if you're using it for the right. As long as you're not being a dick, you can do anything you like. But like the other day, somebody said to me like, what was they were talking about Snapchat, and they were like, how can you not have Snapchat?
Right.
I was like, I just don't have it.
Yeah. I didn't have it yesterday.
Yeah,
there's no reason. Yesterday was fine.
Like, and that's the thing. It's the only moments I come to resent that when other people look at you like you're weird for not doing it. It's like, I'm not resisting anything. I'm just I just am not like into it.
Yeah, it save your mind. Keep it to yourself.
And like that's it. And that's the thing. I feel like as well for me. I mean. And like, I don't know, there's a great line in the English TV show called The Thick of It, where somebody says, "Have you ever Googled yourself as like opening a door into a room full of people telling you how shit you are?" And I was like, like, why would you invite that?
Well, there's a lot of that. Yeah. I believe me, I'm exhausted by it, and it always makes me feel filthy.
You must have to have like a huge, like, do all that.
I do. You do, but like, you wonder though. Like, you see, that's the addictive quality of it. It's like, what if I did pull up? Right. Like, would everything go away? Would
I'm sure this podcast would still be here.
Yeah, I would think so. I imagine I'd still live.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's talk about Kill Your Darlings, because that was a choice. So you do Equus, and then you're going to play Ginsberg.
Yeah. And
in it is a very vulnerable and intimate and somewhat brutal homoerotic scene.
Yeah.
And this is Harry Potter, because like I saw a couple of the Harry Potter movies because the woman I was seeing was really into them, so I maybe saw 3 of them.
Okay.
So, but I'd seen enough of them to have the reaction of like, when you're getting you're having sex with a man. I'm like, what, Harry Potter's What's Harry Potter doing? I'm not judging him, but who knew this about Harry Potter?
Hey, at least I took the glasses off for it. I mean, that's
you did it right. Well, that was the weird thing.
Made it more separate.
Well, it was. I'd never seen gay male sex on a screen, done with that type of vulnerability, or much at all, really.
Yeah, I mean,
it was
Brokeback Mountain was not so much of a vulnerable scene. Was I guess?
Well, it wasn't. It was sort of more suggested than it was. Right. It was more about the romance of it. But this, the director, how you say his name?
Krokidas.
Krokidas. Yeah. Wanted it to have the sort of intensity and the rawness of something really happening.
Yeah.
Because it was graphic.
It wasn't full frontal, but I guess it was graphic.
No, but it was graphic because you were registering it happening.
But you gotta remember, to me, what ended up on screen was
after a whole
less
day's work.
intimate than what we were doing. I guess it's why it doesn't seem.
But it was the first time. It was Allen Ginsberg's first time doing
exactly.
that.
So it needed to be a good scene.
A good scene, and sort of
that would be a super vulnerable moment.
So what did you learn from him? You were about to say that working with
John, he really just sat me down and was like, "So how do you work?" And I was like, "I don't know really."
Yeah.
And he talked to me about this. He got me this book called Directing Actors, and he talked to me about. Just ask me questions that it seems silly that I was never, asking myself, I guess, or no one ever put to me. But this thing what does your character want out of this scene? What with this line, what are you trying to do to the other person? So rather than thinking what this should all be like in general terms, human beings work in that way, that when you say something you're trying to affect someone in some way, and if you narrow down what that is. And play that, it kind of removes self-consciousness, so you're not worrying about what your face is doing or what you look like or
not
how the line's
self-conscious
coming out, because that's what what I've learned, and as I go on, the more you play around, the more relaxed you are, the more you trust the people you're with, and you can play around and screw up, the better you'll be, because you'll just try more stuff and you'll be more I don't know, expressive and creative.
But you really threw yourself into it with Equus and Kill Your Darling, sort of if I'm going to do this, let's take the chances.
Absolutely, but that's what I've always been excited by, the chance to prove myself and the chance to just and work on exciting scripts. And also I was released from the pressure that a lot of my friends have of I want to do a franchise, I want to be in big commercially successful movies. I was released from that very early on. I've done that. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And now I'm in a position where I can just do the stuff that excites me, and that's when I talked to you earlier about having simplified my life. Now I am in a position where I can afford to make most decisions based on the principle of will this make me happy? Will I be happy doing this?
Will I learn something?
Will I learn something?
Challenge myself?
Exactly. And when I say will it make me happy, all those things, I'm not saying
sure, no,
will
I
be
get
able to chill out and do nothing. That's not what makes me happy.
Right.
What makes me happy is being able to work on stuff that fulfills me.
And what about I saw your little bit in Trainwrecked?
Oh yeah,
and you don't do a lot of comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I love doing comedy. It's just what you get cast in.
Yeah.
But that was fun. I was doing it because I was doing the Cripple of Inishmaan, that show in New York, and Judd Apatow came and saw it, and he came backstage and was like, "Hey, we're filming. Do you want to maybe come by and do a bit on set?" And I was it was so casual. I've never been offered something in such an informal way before, that I was kind of yeah, you're just bullshitting backstage, being nice, whatever.
Yeah.
You've seen the show and you're being nice. And then the next day, we got a call from, I got a call from my agents being Judd Apatow's phoned up. He wants to talk to you about the idea for what you're going to be doing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
And it was a bit. It was you were in a foreign film. It was
an independent artsy movie.
Yeah, The Dog Walker.
The Dog Walker, where I play. Honestly, I was so nervous that day because I was going in to do there was no script. I was going to do improvised comedy with Judd Apatow and Amy Schumer watching. I was this is terrifying. I don't do this. Is not what I do. So I was really nervous, but they were both really kind and seemed happy with what they were getting. I was convinced it was the least funny I have been in my entire life, and that's how I left feeling that day, absolutely. And then everyone's been like saying the amount of like press I seem to get off my 45 seconds in that like I've been answering so many questions about that. I was like, yeah, can I talk to you about the film I'm promoting actually? That that one's come out and done very well. Can I talk to you about my weird indies? But yeah, it's no, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, that's the thing, you get the chance to do mad stuff like that. Like, that's what I love about my job, is that occasionally you get to do.
Are you a comedy fan?
Yeah, a huge comedy fan. Like, that's what I watch most of when I'm. Like,
well, who'd you grow up with? Who were your comedy guys?
Okay, well, I mean, being English, obviously the original Office.
Yeah.
I love the American Office too, but like the English Office was a huge deal to me. Also, Steve Coogan and Alan Partridge.
Right.
The Day to Day.
Funny, huh?
Yeah. Have you ever watched The Day to Day?
No.
That's where actually the Alan Partridge character started. He was a sports journalist on this fake news show, hosted by a guy called Chris Morris, who also did Brass Eye, and he's amazing. And so
you go see stand-ups? You like stand-ups?
Yeah, I watched a lot of Dylan Moran.
Oh yeah,
up.
He's been in here.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, he is very, very funny. A lot of English stand-ups, like who else was it? Oh, English or Irish, obviously. Like, there's a lot of Dara O'Brien. I love Doris and stuff.
Haven't talked to him. I've met him.
He's a very nice guy.
I interviewed Stuart Lee.
Stuart Lee's awesome.
Right?
Stuart Lee's like a whole different
world,
level
right?
of like this. His comedy is
cutting and like
amazing.
yeah.
And like he's just got like, he's one of those comedians that you watch and go, wow, you are fearless.
Yeah.
Like, you do shit that is so weird.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
Like, repeats jokes that are getting no laughs, just so like at the end it will come to something. Like, I was just like, that is you are brave.
Oh, he'll invest an hour in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, but then what else? And I mean, God, if you came around my house when you were dating me when I was like 17, 18, you would come around, we were like watching some stand up that night. Probably, like, God, I was a bit. Jack D was also somebody that I like.
Did you ever want to do it?
No, not really. I've always had like one of those things where I like the idea of it, but then like you have to be funny like every like 9 out of 10 times.
On purpose.
You know?
You have to be funny on purpose. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that everyone says, oh, you know, when I hear people say that to other people, they're like, oh, you're so funny, you should do stand up. I'm always like, you probably shouldn't, actually.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Like, he probably couldn't write a set.
Right,
like,
or it just showed.
I don't think people know what goes into it, really. I've amazing respect for my girlfriend used to just do open mic stuff sometimes. I was like,
really?
That is brave.
Is she American?
She's American, yeah. She's from Michigan.
Is she an actress?
She is, yeah. We met on Kill Your Darlings, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She's the girl that I met in the library.
Oh, okay.
Remember that scene?
So you've been with her a while?
Yeah. Like, about 3 years.
Huh.
Yeah.
So what's happening with that?
It's going really well.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really good. She's awesome. She co-runs my fantasy league with me.
It's all about football.
Yeah. But no, she's like, she's wonderful. Do
you want to start a family or anything?
Not yet.
But you think, do you have it in your head to do that?
Definitely. I'd love to be a dad. Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Just, you know. Yeah, I don't know why. You know why? No, I do know why. Because a lot of my friends growing up were older than me, and I see them go through the process of having kids. And like, I saw one of my best friends, like the day that his son was, like, he knew his girlfriend at the time was pregnant, literally said the words, "My life is over." Like, my life
in a sad way?
Yeah, in like an awful way. And then I've seen him go from that to the happiest man on earth with 3 children.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
And it's just like, wow, like having that kind of, maybe it's sort of totally selfish and the wrong reason to want kids, but I'm like, just something that makes you that focused on something that's not you. There's always like a appeal to me.
Well, I don't have any, and I'm a rare thing to be my age and not have any. But all the dudes that I knew that you never thought would have kids or resistant to it, as soon as they have them, they're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I've got some guys in they just turn into softies, and there's something very sweet about it.
Sure, but yeah, and then after about 3 years of the kid being alive, they're exhausted. They're not functioning.
I mean, I also know people like that who you're like, oh man, you sound.
You can be all right.
Like, you can be okay, dude. Like, and that's the worst one is when people are like making jokes and they're just like, yeah, no, it's fine, it's great, but like I want to talk myself sometimes, but no, it's fine. It's like, oh God, are you joking about that? I hope you are.
Yeah, I wrote a whole bit about that, talking to those guys who you don't know if they're talking to you or trying to convince themselves that they're okay.
Yeah, and it's like, do I wade in here? Do you want me to say stuff?
Or do you just need a board
to keep talking? That's fine.
So how do you feel so you live in Manhattan?
I live between London and New York.
And how do you feel when you come out here? I mean, what?
It's weird. I've spent so little time in LA. I filmed something just outside LA recently for the first time in my life, and it's definitely a.
So you've managed to avoid the culture of show business in a way.
Until I was 21, I think I'd spent probably 4 weeks here in my entire life.
That's amazing.
So like, and I do find it. And people like are wowed by that, which is great. I can't really say it anymore, but for a while there, it was absolutely true. And yeah, I think I find it strange when I'm here. I'm not one of the people that are like, oh, LA's terrible. Like, but it's a different thing. You feel different here.
Well, it's fascinating.
You can't help but feel like, even me, I've done well, like I'm doing well, I'm working. You just feel like the competition here.
Well, yeah,
sense of that.
And also like there's a whole culture of show business where a lot of celebrities know each other and there's different rings. Well, I can feel that.
Yeah,
that there's a burden to it. There's a cynicism that comes with it, and a weird sort of insulated kind of like life and comfort that comes with it.
Yeah,
you really live a different life when you're inside the business.
And everyone
here.
like assumes Like I remember I sat down with a director here, and he was like, he directed videos for like some really big name pop stars and stuff, and he was like, you must know Jay-Z and Beyonce, and I was like, I don't at all. Like, I've no connection to them. Like, we film movies in Watford. Like, there was never that we.
Well, the assumption is you're one of the biggest box office stars that's lived. So, like, how can you not have spent time with Jay-Z and Beyonce?
Right.
Never been up to the house?
I know. Yeah, crazy. So yeah, but I feel kind of, I guess, lucky to be outside of it.
Don't let it creep in.
Because I can come, because I sort of have the thing of being able to like drop in and come in and like see friends here and stuff.
You seem like you're a real person, and you seem to have personal integrity, and it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you. You too. I've really enjoyed this, and also like when do you get to smoke an interview? Exactly. This is the best.
I like the secondhand experience. I quit a long time ago. Just stay away from LA as much as you possibly can.
Said the man who lives there.
So you got to run. Where are you going?
I'm going to get a star on the Hollywood Walk.
Get out of here!
I know. Yeah, it is mad. It's completely like when they said it to me, I was like, "What, really?"
And here I was being a dick. You were coming over like, if he's any more later, then I don't know if we're going to be able to have time to do this. They didn't tell me you were going to get a star.
Oh yeah, no, don't. But like, I was, it's all cool. I was really excited about this as well, honestly.
I was like, well, you're awfully dressed up. Thank you.
Because I was thinking like that'll be a crazy thing, and this will just be like an hour of cool normality.
Oh my God. Well,